Alright, we're visiting Saturnalia. I had the taxi drive me to Saturnalia and watched through my window as downtown LA glittered into view. Not sure if Heath's there tonight, and if he is, we're not yet. Okay, there we go. There was no sign of Heath tonight, only some Iskari quietly nursing their drinks. I thought I remembered their faces from the hotel, but I wasn't sure. I'm gonna take a quick gander at my stats again. It's kind of important, honestly. I need to get Iskari up. The bar's patrons were an interesting bunch this night. A former porn director, a depressed singer who'd failed to make it big, a supposedly dead politician, and an Elvis impersonator. All of them were Iskari, and while the director and politician worked for Charisse, the singer and not Elvis were unaffiliated loners. When I first struck up a conversation with the unhappy singer, the others were off by themselves, looking more lonely than anything. But after they saw us chatting, they drifted over one by one until all 5 of us were lounging by the bar and exchanging backstories. It was only a matter of time before the subject of politics reared its ugly head, though. The politician started dropping hints that the singer could find some renewed attention among the Iskari if she aligned herself with the faction. She seemed hesitant but torn, and soon she turned to ask me for my thoughts. I told her to join the Iskari and stand out among them. The singer obviously took my confident reply to heart, maybe because I'd garnered a reputation working for Charisse. She promised to show up at the hotel before long and thanked me for my advice. Right. This is kind of easy. We're leaving. Essentially, we're just leaving. We'll go to the beach. Oh no, we need to do this first. Okay. As I left Saturnalia and stood on the sidewalk waiting to call another taxi, I felt someone's gaze on me, watching me intently. I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck this is. At first, I couldn't tell where it was coming from since there were several people wandering up and down the street, but when I turned towards the entrance to an alley, I spotted a scrawny, dark-haired figure peeping at me from the shadows. Go over to them. Pulled by my curiosity, I decided to wander closer to the figure. A part of me expected them to run off as I got closer, but they didn't move. When I finally stood in front of them, 2 bright red eyes stared at me curiously. Oh hey. I was wondering if you were ever going to come over. I thought I might need to wave a flag or something to get your attention. She spoke in a quiet, slightly husky voice, a hint of fangs flashing between her words. When I focused on her presence, I could tell she was a Golgotha. Is there a reason you were watching me? Well, yeah, I don't usually watch people for no reason, usually. She reached up to scratch her cheek, squinting at me curiously. I'm Morgan. Can't remember your name, but your face matches everything I've heard. Trailing off for a moment, Morgan leaned forward a little, her red eyes slightly glassy behind their lenses. Good at rioting. Like you've got some kind of portable brick wall. Let me just look at my stats. This is good. Follow the leader, boom. Where do I buy a portable brick wall? That sounds useful. I don't know, ask Pink Floyd. You can build one though, keep out everything you don't want to see or hear. And you're not trapped in there with him, he's trapped in there with you. Morgan let out a faint sigh, pushing up her glasses. Do you see anything else when you look at me, Morgan? Oh yeah, lots of things, though it keeps changing. Let's see, right now As she tugged off her glasses, a confused look drifted over her face. Truth's scary, makes you angry. You hate what you fear. Keep running and you'll explode, because you can't run forever. Can't run from the things that made you. Morgan's halting words slowly sank into silence. Are you talking about me or someone else? Both. Yes, both, or maybe there's 3 of you. She squinted, not at me, but at some abstract spot over my head where she obviously saw something I didn't. After a long pause passed us by, Morgan slid back on her glasses. Okay, believe it or not, I wanted to do something besides giving you loopy fortunes. I was actually wondering if you could do me a favor, because you look like a pretty capable kind of girl. See, I came here a few months ago, and I've been trying to get a meeting with Andre. But holy hell. What are you doing down there? My cat's... Okay. My cat's sat somewhere, but I had a big box there, so she's like teetering on the edge of it. Silly girl, let me move this. And you can move down into the little bed I made for you. But holy hell, his schedule is booked. You smell like the graveyard though, so I figure you must be tight with him. Could you ask Andre to bump me to the top of his queue so I could meet him sooner? She perked her brows upward, eyes glinting at me hopefully. If you do, I could, don't really know how to say it, kind of shimmy my way into a few people's dreams, help boost their opinion of you, Iskari, Golgotha, whatever. Sound like a deal? Yep, fair enough. I'll talk to him soon and put in a word for you. Cool, which house do you want me to poke at? Okay, here's where I'm going to save because I'm not sure how things will pan out, but I think I'm going to go with Golgotha because this guide does say that if you're a Mavar and you're on Randall's route, possibly, I can't remember, but you will have the most trouble with the Golgotha. Poke the Golgotha. Got it, heh. I heard a faint popping sound and glanced down to see Morgan cracking the knuckles of one hand. Right, well, that was the only thing I wanted, so, you can go now. Bye. Okay, that's done. She leaves. Heading back to the graveyard would be too long of a drive, but I could always ask Andre during my next visit. And we won't get any bump until then, I think. Did we get a bump? Oh, I got a bump from speaking with Andre and saying I'd blah blah blah. Okay, let's go to the beach house first, and then we'll go to the hotel. I had my driver take me to Santa Monica, deciding to stop by Randall's place. There was a small crowd here tonight enjoying themselves over drinks, but no sign of Randall. I don't want to do this. Wait, what do I have to do here? Mingle with the other Mavar. That's not an option, though. Okay, chat with the Mavar, I guess. When I glanced around at the gathered Mavar, it seemed like most of them were in a single group, sharing stories about their eventful unlives. Wandering up to the circle, I decided to join the storytelling. The Mavar's histories were interesting enough to listen to, ranging from addicts to runaways to average people whose lives had suddenly turned upside down. Most of their tales involved a watershed moment where when they heard about Randall or his clan, which always caused a loud chorus of cheers or warm shouts of encouragement. Before long, someone asked me to tell a story of my own, so I began to talk about Randall and the Hunters. As I described the tense moments when Randall and I were huddled in the alley, unsure whether the Hunters would discover us or not, I saw a sea of fascinated, admiring gazes focused on me, drinking in my every word. By the time I finished, a number of Mavar stepped over to hug me, thanking me for coming with them that night. After a little while longer in the circle, I finally slipped away, leaving them to their chatter and laughter. Again, I'm not doing this one, because it's not relevant and kind of boring. Look at this. This is the highest rep I've ever had with anyone. The Mavar is so easy. Okay, we're leaving. Slipping out of the beach house, I made my way back across the sand. Go spend time at the hotel. What am I doing tomorrow? Is it a Randall event or a Charisse event tomorrow? I don't know. It's probably a Charisse event. There were a few groups of Iskari clustered in the lobby tonight, engaged in quiet conversation, occasionally sprinkled with laughter. They seemed preoccupied with their own chatter, but I spotted another, more unusual pair sitting nearby. One of Charisse's agents and a human. Wander over to the agent. Curious, I wandered over to the seated pair, wondering what a human was doing in the lobby. I doubted he was somebody's blood pet, a middle-aged, slightly overweight man fidgeting beside the agent as he nervously dabbed the sweat on his forehead with a handkerchief. Ah, hello. The agent sitting beside him greeted me stiffly when I walked up. His voice came out slightly strained, like he was trying to bite back frustration. Hello, is something wrong? No, not exactly. The agent hesitated for a moment. Oh, who's this? I glanced down to see the human peering at me with an embarrassed smile. This is Valkii. She's an informal agent under Miss Locke. Valkii, this is Mr. Saxby. He's a very respectable and successful businessman and one of the latest candidates to become an Iskari. All this reading. I'm trying to knock these out really fast and it's constant reading. He'd be a very important addition to our cause, but he has some reservations about the unlife. Clearing his throat, the agent raised a brow at me pointedly. Ah, right. Saxby gave an awkward chuckle, and I could practically see fresh beads of sweat popping from his pores. Well, I know it sounds pretty silly, but, I'm a little worried about love. You can see for yourself what I look like. I can't find a woman who loves me as a human. I don't really think it'll get any better as a vampire either. A nervous, self-deprecating smile flashed over Saxby's face before it fell away like the drops of glistening perspiration on his brow. It seems like most vampires are still so young and beautiful, and you know, I keep asking myself, is there really a vampire out there who would love me? This fine man here says I'll find them eventually, but sometimes I just don't know. See, I don't have this option anymore because I'm not a Golgotha. I think when this person made this guide, they were a Golgotha and they had this option. So I think I'm going to save to see how much it gives me. I'm sure there's love somewhere out there for you, Mr. Saxby. Well, thank you, Valkii. I sure hope you're right. But he didn't seem overly convinced. I'm gonna load and see. Maybe I can't give him a good option this time. I don't know either. You're the one who determines your future. Well, I can't argue with that one. He didn't look very reassured before. Yeah, I can't really, like, do it. But that seems like the better option, apparently, because this was, like, neck and neck almost with Golgotha, so the top one's the best. I'm sure there's love somewhere out there for you, Mr. Saxby. Well, thank you, Valkii. I sure hope you're right. With another slight chuckle, Saxby scratched his ear, but he didn't seem overly convinced. Yeah, see, that gives you more, okay. Thank you for your thoughts, Valkii. Mr. Saxby and I are going to discuss things a little further, so if you'd excuse us. When he tapped a hand on Saxby's shoulder, the man nervously hopped to his feet, adjusting his tie as he followed the Ascari into the hall. I watched them go, observing the falling sweat droplets that Saxby left in his wake. Whatever, we're leaving. It's nighttime now. Well, daytime almost. Just as I stepped back inside my room, at that moment an anxious knocking echoed from nearby, but it wasn't at the door. It was coming from the window. What? And the face peering in at me was Randall's. He seemed to be shouting something, pounding his knuckles on the thick glass. Swallowing my astonishment, I rushed over to let him inside. Phew, thanks, newbie. After clambering inside somewhat ungracefully, Randall brushed back his windswept hair and offered me a bright grin. Now, before you even start, I know what you're thinking. I was doing just fine out there until the wind decided to pick up, then I had one of those, oh shit, how'd I get into this situation moments. Damn, why'd they decide to put you up so high? It's like Queen Bitch is really trying to lock you away in a tower, Christ. He grumbled under his breath, but I could tell he was enjoying himself. I'm gonna say that one, but I feel like he doesn't want me to be romantic with him. Ignoring the fact that you almost died, this is sort of romantic. What? Doesn't that make it more romantic? Okay, he seems okay with me saying that now, okay. You know, brave man risks splattering on the ground for forbidden tryst, more at 11. I'm not complaining, I wish you'd spontaneously appear more often. Well, can't say I hear that every day. Randall let out one of his deep, earth-shaking laughs. Normally it's more damn it, Randall's breaking things again, or let's get out of here, that crazy guy's back. But hey, I'll take the compliment. Actually, clearing his throat, Randall paused for a moment, gazing at me fondly. I just came to invite you to do something fun tomorrow. Thought about just calling you up, but hell, it was a good excuse to see your face again. Oh my god. You don't need an excuse to see my face, you know. Sure, but I wanted some kind of reason, just so it wouldn't seem like I was sleazing my way into your hotel room. Not that I'm above that sort of thing, but I like to try and keep up appearances sometimes. Randall offered an innocent shrug, or at least an attempt at one. Anyway, I was being serious about you coming along with me. See, there's this band, the Alchemical Men. Up-and-coming rock stars, they're getting pretty famous. Their frontman is this crazy guy who calls himself Cadmon for a stage name. His real name is something boring as hell like Adam, so I guess he decided to switch it up. Now, tomorrow night, they're secretly filming a music video on some out-of-the-way road in LA. Have you ever seen a big-time video being shot before? It's a shit show, let me tell you, but it's fun as hell to watch. Sounds like fun to me, I'll come along for sure. There you go, kid, we're gonna have a blast. Randall grinned warmly at me, not attempting to hide his delight. Alright, now that we've got that all straightened out, one more question before I figure out how the hell to get out of here. Anything happened to you recently? Any stuff with Queen Bitch, secret plans or some shit, or anything just plain weird? His voice lowered I hate this word. Conspiratorially, but he still sounded playful, as if he didn't really expect me to say anything important. Yes, actually, I met a man named Andre. Oh wait, I wasn't supposed to tell him. Does he know? He doesn't know. The second I mentioned Andre's name, Randall flinched slightly. Andre is... He really creeps me out, that guy. I don't know why. I mean, beyond the fact that he lives in a fucking graveyard and wears some kind of wizard coat. That's true. He let out a snort, but the faint humour left his gaze almost right after. He gives me a bad feeling too. Yeah. For good reason. There was a certain wariness in his voice, not unlike fear. Judging from Andre's similar but much more subtle reaction to Randall's name earlier, it seemed like these two had something strange between them. Well, listen, Valkii. All I'm gonna say is, you should remember that guy's a Golgotha, even if he acts all smart and calm. And a lot of Gols do scary shit. If you want to take my advice, stay the hell away from him. Alright, I will. Let's change the subject. Okay. I don't really want to make him talk about something he's clearly uncomfortable with. He smiled faintly, but a certain discomfort lingered in his voice. Hey, listen. Much as I hate to say it, I should probably get going before they notice all the broken windows and locked out guards. He winked at me and I wasn't sure if his last remark was serious or not. My guys are actually waiting for me down there too. I brought some of them along to help out. Call it a field trip. Pausing, Randall grabbed a notepad from my nightstand, pulling out his pen and scribbling something down. From the lines and arrows, it looked like a map. Here, let's meet on the rooftop of this old building. We'll have a great view of all the rockstar carnage. Your ass better show there tomorrow, or I'm going to be real disappointed. Literally or figuratively? Why not both? Okay. With a roguish chuckle, Randall cracked his knuckles and strode over to the window, glancing smugly back at me. I'll see you tomorrow, Valkii. I don't know if I'll keep that first one. Can't you stay a little longer? I'd love to, but too much of a good thing and all. Glad to know I'm wanted, though. Okay, it's fine, that's fine. After giving me one final wink, he ducked through the window, grabbing a hold of the ledge. But instead of climbing down, Randall climbed up, crawling carefully along the windowsills until he disappeared around the side of the hotel. I had no clue what his escape plan was, but I had a feeling he'd figure one out. Click. I ended my night there with a sense of uncertainty lurking in the back of my mind. When I curled up and closed my eyes, I felt like I could see Andre's glowing gaze, his low voice resonating like a double bass. I did the same thing the last time. The time for an end to this conflict swiftly approaches, he'd said. Those ominous words circled through my thoughts as I drifted into a light, restless sleep. Holy shit, I can't believe I actually saw him. Babe, could you lower your voice a little bit? I know you're excited, but he's just another celebrity. No, you don't understand, Jessica. He was right fucking there. Holy shit, that was so cool. When I passed a rabid fanboy and his embarrassed girlfriend, I knew I'd reached the right place. The alley up ahead was guarded by a few rough-looking guys, but not the abandoned apartment building next to it. It even had a fire escape. What a jackpot. Oh no, it's the sad music. You know, things are going to start to get depressing now. After creaking awake this evening, I'd followed Randall's map into the outskirts of downtown LA. I wasn't entirely sure what to expect or why he'd chosen a video shoot as our rendezvous, but he always seemed to have something in mind, even if he wasn't aware of it himself. I climbed the fire escape with ease, grateful for the fluid strength in my body. Once I reached the top of the stairs, I gracefully leapt from window to window, scaling up to the rooftop without much effort. My Mavar blood made it even easier than I'd expected. By the time I reached my goal, Randall was still nowhere in sight. He'd been telling the truth, though. I had a great view of the alchemical men glittering on the pavement, getting their makeup and extravagant outfits touched up to perfection. One of them in particular seemed to be getting a lot of attention. Cadman, probably. And even from my rooftop perch, he stood out like a diamond in the dirt. His face was very classically attractive, but that wasn't what made him different. He had a certain detached, alien, lonely confidence to the point where even the people beside him seemed unsure how to address him. He acted like a typical mischievous rock star, playfully sabotaging the crew here and there, making out with his bandmates for the shock value, lifting the director in a bridal carry just to mess with him. But somehow, no matter how close he got to someone, he still seemed to be walking in a far-off world. For some reason, I had the curious thought that his situation wasn't so different from mine. Hey, hope you saved me a seat. A warm voice rang out nearby, jerking me back to the moment. Randall jogged up to my side like someone late to a movie. He must have snuck up to the roof when I wasn't paying attention. Oh shit, they're already here. Has the band set anyone on fire yet? Not yet. Maybe they were waiting for you to show up. That's pretty nice of them. I just hope I'm not going to be disappointed. He rubbed his hands together in excitement, peering down into the alley. Well, Cadman's are always up to something, or at least that's what the papers say, so this should be a fun time. With a grunt, Randall lowered himself down beside me, letting his legs hang over the rooftop's edge. Luckily, no one on the film crew seemed to notice us, or else they weren't being paid enough to care. I saw you watching him before I came up. You had a real distant look in your eyes. Were you just having some rock star fantasies or something else? Just musing on how we're really not that much different from each other. Huh? Oh, you mean... Yeah, there's probably some truth to that. Marcus used to have this saying about the types of people who can't relate to anyone else, that isolation makes them feel sympathetic towards each other. But me, I can't sympathize with the guy. Or anyone else who rides in a fucking limo. He snorted, rolling his eyes. Well, that's very short-sighted. A small ruckus in the alley made us both glance down. The band and their entourage were crowding around a small table where someone was carefully pouring and arranging something. Wow, is the director giving them cocaine? The shoot hasn't even started. Randall squinted at the table, letting out an awed ha. Guess that's one way to get people moving. Jesus, he's gonna have a rough job. I wonder if that's part of the production budget. You know, I wouldn't be surprised, probably under talent handling, huh? He let out a big laugh, slapping his thigh and bending so far over that I almost thought he'd slip off the roof. Drugs are pretty much everywhere here, especially with the rock and roll crowd, the artistic crowd, all those guys. You get desensitized real quick. Well, let's just say, I actually took them myself back when I was alive. Really. He gave me a surprised look, although he didn't seem to be judging me, or even disapproving for that matter. Well, I guess we got something else in common besides being sexy beasts. Did you stick with the soft stuff, or did you go harder? Let's go hard. I snorted, shot up, and smoked anything I could get my hands on. Well, you seem to have a pretty good grip on yourself, so you must have been more of a user than an abuser, huh? Or else you're a pretty good, damn good actor. And you still got your teeth, so I guess you didn't go down the meth hole. Despite his light-hearted smile, something more distant flickered through his voice. Oh shit, are they gonna start? Down in the street, the band was finally getting into their places. I watched Cadman as he took his place at the front, smoothing his hair back and taking a deep breath, just like he was about to go on stage. The rest of the band seemed a little bored or impatient, or maybe they felt hidden in Cadman's shadow. They almost blended into the background, static props for a dynamic centerpiece. Damn it, where is it? Ah, here we go. When I looked back to Randall, he was fishing around in his pocket. A moment later, he pulled out a couple of small black bottles, offering one to me with a wide grin. Figured they'd take a while to get going, so I brought snacks. But I only got the spiked kind this time. That bastard Heath said they were out of the rest, sorry. Don't mind if I do. Now that's the good stuff, so don't waste any of it. Alright, what are we toasting to this time? To a starry-eyed newbie and her handsome mentor. Hey, you can't just plagiarize me to my face. Even though Randall bumped his shoulder against mine, he was obviously delighted that I remembered our first toast. He leaned his weight on me lightly for a few moments longer, turning the brief touch into something a little more intimate. To the cutest newbie a mentor could ask for. Aww, a little sweetie. He's so sweet. My voice is going again. Oh no. We touched our bottles together, then brought them to our lips. The liquid that touched my tongue was sweet, coloured strongly with alcohol, but far better than what you'd get in a bag. At that moment, a loud blast of music suddenly echoed around us. The huge speakers set up behind the cameras started blaring a glam rock ballad, some catchy song that I'd never heard before. Someone handed Cadman a glitzed-up microphone, and after a short cooldown, he began to lip-sync as the band played behind him. Pretty surreal to watch it live, huh? If I close my eyes, I can already see the edited as shit final version, touched up to take out every unflattering angle. It'll be on MTV before the end of the year, probably. Bet they'll win some kind of award. Even though Randall's comment was dry, there seemed to be a slight bitterness in his voice. A A short silence fell between us as we watched the first take. Randall absorbed it with unusual focus. I couldn't blame him, it felt like a spell had fallen over the alley. The glowing singer looked like he was drowning completely in his character, and even from this distance I could see a strangely real emotion expressed in his movements. It was the type of intensity that usually led to self-destruction, like a star burning too bright and too fast. What do you think of celebrities, Valkii? When they finished the first take and started a second, Randall suddenly glanced back towards me. Actors, idols, singers, all that. What are your thoughts on them? Honestly, I feel sorry for them. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I do too. He hesitated, studying Cadman for a long moment. They wanted it though, you know? Or at least they knew they had it coming. No one forces you to be a star, they chase after it, and then at some point it starts chasing after them. All the way to the bank, I guess. Chuckling, Randall took a drink from his tiny blood bottle, wiping his mouth with a tattooed forearm. Well, let me tell you one thing about celebrities, Valkii. They usually taste like shit. Bit into one once. And man, between the drug cocktail and the stress and the nasty diet, I almost puked all over them. He stuck his tongue out, shuddering. Nah, but seriously. Back when I was still human, I used to see a lot of them, celebrities. Actually, I worked at this hotel, this big hotel that always had the important people coming and going. Saw plenty of stars and all the starfuckers drooling and tripping over themselves to get an autograph or suck them off or even just to get a good look at them. Did you actually talk to them? Yeah, kind of. It was more they talked at me and I just nodded. He rubbed one hand against his cheek, staring at an empty point in space. I saw some real ugly sides to a lot of famous, pretty people. Made me realize how fake everyone is. How stupid beauty is. Randall started to trace a finger along the asphalt beside him as he spoke. I realized he was sketching out invisible figures, even though his gaze was unfocused on the filming below. You know, they'll tell you, you're beautiful, special star. You're a beautiful, special star, and everyone loves you. God loves you. But then you get your shit kicked in if you've got a dumb haircut at school. What? Oh, okay, I see what they're saying. And on the TV, they show you some white blonde family with ear-to-ear grins because they've got all the right t-shirts and listen to all the right music and support the right fucking causes. Makes you feel like shit. Like you're doing something wrong if you're not the same as they are. He sighed, letting out a slightly sheepish chuckle. You get what I'm saying at all, or does it just sound like bullshit? I know what you mean, I never fit in either. Randall visibly relaxed a little at that. As our eyes met, his gaze seemed to soften, taking on an almost affectionate light. You know, I always get along the easiest with people who are as damaged or more damaged than me. Not that I'm saying you're damaged or whatever, but, you know, the people who live their whole lives in the happy American bubble, I don't really got much in common with them. Does it still matter in the vampire world? Only difference between this world and the other one is that we don't get to see the light. So if you embrace that through your middle finger to the sun, then you don't need to give a fuck about fitting in. Offering me a slight grin, he squeezed my shoulder with one hand, using the other to helpfully demonstrate his previous remark. Not so far below us, the band had finished up their last take. Everyone was packing up, and relaxed laughter and chatter drifted distantly through the air. But Cadmon was lingering by himself. His bandmates and crew seemed to be giving him a wide berth, either by his request or because there was some unseen, unspoken barrier between them. He leaned against the building across from us, staring down at his exquisitely crafted microphone, slowly turning it over in his gloved hands. The song on the speakers was still looping. His own rasping voice must have been echoing in his ears, the soundtrack to his life played out in real time. Well, that was pretty tame, huh? Randall let out a long sigh, stretching his powerful arms over his head. Kind of disappointed nothing got set on fire, but I guess they're filming a ballad, not some loud stomping anthem, so probably less testosterone in the air. I wonder if we'll show up in the music video. Now that would be dope, wouldn't it? Man, I should have pulled my pants down or something. But the camera probably didn't pan up this high, too busy focusing on the second coming of John Lennon down there. Randall chuckled down at me as we walked towards the other edge of the rooftop. He stayed close to my side, so close that our hands brushed together. There was something gentler about Randall when we were alone, unlike the times we spent with his clan. Maybe a part of him that others weren't supposed to see. Alright, I'll go down first. Crouching on the concrete, Randall reached out to grab the fire escape ladder. I watched his bandaged palm squeeze around the metal. A piercing sound split the air. Oh no. Something wet splattered my face, blood and tissue. One of Randall's hands jerked up to the hole in his throat. He stumbled backwards, his eyes rolling back in his head. Then, almost in slow motion, he fell. What is that? What is this exactly? I stood there frozen in shock. I could feel Randall's blood dripping down my cheeks. It was unreal, detached, like it was happening to someone else, not me. A loud thud jerked me back to my senses. I dashed to the edge of the rooftop, my gut clenched with dread. Fucking shit, fuck. But Randall hadn't hit the ground. Somehow he'd managed to catch onto the ladder, and a loud stream of hisses and choked swearing reached me from below. I don't know if I'm supposed to be smart or emotional here. Randall, I'm coming to help you. Ah, fucking cocksucker. He spat out a wad of blood and glanced up at me, grimacing. Get the fuck off that roof, Valkii. Don't worry about me. I grabbed the ladder and began to slide down, half expecting a second bullet to hit me. But to my surprise, I made it to the ground unharmed, and Randall dropped down beside me, letting out another stream of curses. Oh, Christ, that fucking coward. When he pulled his hand away, his bandaged palm was soaked with blood, its bitter smell burning my senses. I rushed to help him up. I ran forward, reaching out to try and support him. No, don't. But he raised a hand to stop me, forcing me back. They might aim for you too. You should get somewhere safe. The hole in Randall's neck was sealing over, but his words still sounded painful. At that moment, a loud shout sharply echoed nearby. Then the sound of footsteps running on asphalt, the presence of vampires. It sounded like a large group approaching us at an alarming pace. What are my stats looking like? God, look at the Mavar. I really need to get these up. I will have opportunity. I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be okay this time. Randall, we should hide. No, wait. He raised a bloody hand, shaking his head. We're all right, Valkii. As if on cue, a crowd of familiar figures suddenly appeared at the end of the street. Randall, Valkii. Jesus Christ, what the hell happened? The group of Mavar rushed over to us with Jack at the front. Someone shot you. Where are they? Where are they? I'm going to kill someone. A distressed commotion of cries and hisses rang out as soon as they saw Randall's wound, and they instantly swarmed him, trying to see if he was all right. It's fine, it's fine. Sure makes you appreciate the vamp blood, though. Fuck. As Randall tried to reassure the group, Jack stepped up to me, eyeing the blood on my face. Shit, Valkii, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm more worried about Randall. He'll be okay. If you don't get shot in the heart or the head, it heals pretty fast. But fuck if they'd aimed any higher. It's those fucking Ascari. I knew it, they shot him. Outraged snarling filled the air, stirring up a bloodlust so palpable that I could feel it. And I will see you in the next one.